right. That's right. I own an import-export business, you
Yeah,
know?
I'm big in
Um,
import exports.
yeah. Good morning, guys. How you guys doing this morning?
Good,
Doing
man.
well.
Yeah, I just got my coffee.
Same, same.
Got a coffee too. Woo. Well, you can't see mine, I guess.
It's the best part of waking up.
Danny's the
Yeah,
Coffee
Folgers
in your
in
cup.
your cup.
Bingo. Get to the
Nice.
last drop.
with his trusty donkey.
Yeah. How's your week been, you guys? Like, what have you guys been up to? Coding,
Coding.
cybersecuritying,
Yeah, a lot
pen
of coding.
testing.
Yeah, it's been eventful. I've been trying to knock out all these prereq. So like studying for the OSCP, if you complete about 80% of the coursework and 80% of the practice exams, then
Yeah,
they'll give you a bonus 10 points, which can be critical to passing the exam.
Yeah, it's
So I'm
huge.
trying to complete all that stuff. It's challenging, but hopefully I'll get there in time.
nice.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Very cool. Well, if anybody's on here listening, let us know in the comments what you guys have been up to this week. I've been working on an app that I've been building for myself to track development hours for like freelance coding. Did some of that on the airplane ride down here, which was kind of cool. Good morning, Bryce.
Morning, Bryce.
Um, it was interesting because I had to nap for a little bit on the plane, so I was like, I'm not gonna buy the Wi-Fi thing, and then then I woke up and I was like, all right, now I'm gonna code, but then I didn't have Wi-Fi, so I was like
Oh, you can't look, you
coding
have any
without
documentation or anything?
no documentation. I was like, somehow the app was like pulling a user too, which worked out because if it like didn't pull the user, it just wouldn't log in, but it was, so I could see some of it. But yeah, it was like very interesting, like no documentation, just sort of like guessing at certain things, and then like, okay, that didn't work, how am I gonna fix it, but
That's cool.
but yeah, it worked out. So got some
Hey,
coding done on the
you can
airplane.
actually do work on the plane too. That's like,
Yeah,
huge because in most things you cannot do that.
yeah, totally. And I think that it's a pretty good segue into our topic today. Do you guys remember what the topic is?
Get in the habit of coding.
Hmm.
Yeah. So how
You
do you
know,
get
before we get into that,
oh, all right.
I just wanted to share a story because there's
Okay.
rumors going
Hmm.
around that there's no jobs in coding. There's all these layoffs
Hmm.
and all these different companies. It's impossible to get a job as a coder. Like there's just no work, period. And
It's like
you know,
nobody's building websites or anything anymore.
just this
Stop.
week, I know, just this week happened once again. Like work, when you're a developer and you're good at what you do, work comes just from people that you know. Like somebody that I've
Yeah.
known for a few years is now looking for someone to build a website and apps, and he knows that that's what we do. And so he just reached out to me and he said, "Hey, can you guys build this for us?" And that's something where when you become a skilled developer, and that's something we work at profusely with everybody in our mentoring slash coding program, definitely not a boot camp called Web Dev Incubator. And but that's something we work with people and in becoming skilled, proficient coders so that you can have really good looking projects. So then people know you're a developer and you can get work just from word of mouth. But
Yeah.
anyways, that was story time. Back to you, Russ.
Yeah. So I think that's like a good segue into our topic today, which is how to, build habits around coding, right? Because that's one of the hardest things is like life happens, right? There's so many things that happen in life that make it easy to get distracted from coding. And so I think that's something that we've all faced in our journeys so far. And I know a lot of people inside the incubator have faced that too. Like one of the guys in here just had a baby, right? And so how do you go from having a newborn child to like staying on track with learning development? It's actually quite difficult, right?
Well, I think this is one of the things too, when you're learning by yourself, this is one of the biggest hurdles too, because like most people learning on their own, you look for excuses to stop, to take the
Hmm.
pressure off because you know it's hard, you know it's going to take a long time. And so as soon as you find an excuse, it's like, okay, that's an excuse. I can now blame something else. I don't feel responsible. And it's easy to lose motivation. So I think it's like, yeah, I mean, he's lucky because he has a team too. He has a community to rely on that helps a lot keeping you going, I think. I think that's a big part of it too,
Yeah.
is just having people that you work with can be a huge part of keeping you motivated.
Hmm.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I think that's a great sort of first point is that if you want to get in the habit of coding and stay in the habit of coding, you need people to keep you accountable and keep you on track and give you sort of that next step. Because I know that's something that I've seen a lot of our students before they joined the web dev incubator was they sort of were just like drifting in this, sea of coding things and trying different things, like trying this little thing, trying Python, trying HTML, trying SQL, trying databases, trying APIs, but then like they never really do any like make any big steps forward and make any progress. So having somebody who can show you like the progression through learning a particular skill set like web development or cybersecurity or anything like that and give you like the next steps, right? Because if I were to go and try to learn cybersecurity right now, probably wouldn't know the first thing um, to learn. But if I asked Randall, he could give me the entire track of like, this is what you should learn first, then you should learn this, then you should learn this.
Yeah.
Talking about coding, I did learn some new coding this week. I learned Visual Basic, and I programmed
Whoa,
Nice.
my first word macro that got a reverse shell on a Windows computer. So that was
Nice.
pretty cool.
That's
Yeah.
that's
cool.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Good
is
morning,
awesome.
everybody. I see some other comments in here. Good morning, Chris. Good morning, Randall. Good morning, Christopher Mitchko.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
I
it
Oh, and
see
seems like
thanks,
Christopher
Bryce.
Mitchko's been very active, and actually, he shared a lot of interesting stuff for how to actually code on your phone.
Yeah.
Very cool, because
mm,
I heard that was possible, but I just couldn't wrap my brain around it. But he kind of solved the riddle, and he does it
ah,
regularly, which is cool.
right on. Good job, Christopher. Finding solutions. So, yeah, so what else do you guys do that help you get in the habit of coding?
I was gonna say one thing I think that's helpful too is just any habit is reminding yourself too that habits don't just form instantly. Like I think one of the
Yeah,
biggest mistakes like we've made is like all this self-help crap that's like do this in 7 days or 24 hours and it's like that's not a habit. That's a thing you did
yeah,
once. You know, like a
yeah,
habit takes time. So like you have to also expect that like at the beginning there's gonna be bumps. It's gonna take you time to get in that regular progression of doing it all the time. And I think that's okay. Like remind yourself that's all right. And don't forget that
Yeah.
because otherwise you'll be hard on yourself and you'll quit.
One
yeah,
thing,
totally.
one thing that really grinds my gears that I've been seeing recently is like these videos on social media, YouTube, wherever, where they're like, I did this for 30 days. I did that for
Yeah.
30 days.
Yeah,
I did this. And it's like, you can't see any appreciable benefit in anything doing it for 30 days. Like, you need to think about like 30 months, 30 years. Then you start to see a difference. So 30 days is ridiculous. But anyways, I just need to vent a little bit because he brought
Yeah.
that up. But I had one recommendation for habits. Anyways, probably the most helpful thing for me with developing habits is something called habit stacking. And
Oh, that's a good
this
one. Yeah.
is so look in your life at things that you do on a regular basis. So maybe it's brushing your teeth, maybe it's having a coffee, maybe it's walking your dog, whatever it may be, but things that you do on a regular basis. Well, you're going to do those pretty much every day around the same time. So if you want to incorporate a new behavior, a new habit, just stack your new habit on top of that one. And that'll actually be a trigger to start you doing your new habit. So if coding is something that you want to do and you're not yet coding consistently, well, you go walk your dog every morning. When you get back from that, just code for 5 minutes. And you just start doing that time and time again. Eventually it becomes a habit.
I heard some it's like they also talk about like it's like sort of like stacking, it's like combining, but like it's also like taking something fun like they like if there's a show you love to watch, like code while you're watching the show. You know, they say that like
mm,
exercise, like always do your like, do the elliptical when that show's on. So it's like motivates you to do it, at least at
yeah,
first. And it sets a nice time for you too. I think that's the important thing is like most people try to get into stuff and learn on their own, but they have no schedule. And it's like so like
yeah.
finding that time, we all have time in our day. It's easy to find, but figure out what time works best for you and commit to being like, I'm going to sit down my computer and code for at least 30 minutes of a day that time. And that gets you on that road started to move forward.
Yeah, I think that's a big one that you mentioned before, Danny, which that was something that I want to implement when I'm not traveling, but which is just like having a set time in the day to do development work, right? Because for me, that's a big struggle is that there's so many things that are happen in my life where there's like kids and like life things that just go on. And so it can be difficult to actually find like a time to do something, but scheduling a time in your day actually makes it way easier because you're like, cool, everything else gets put to the side now. Like alarm just went off. Now it's time to code for an hour or whatever it is, you know?
Well, it's crazy. I started this a while ago actually, because like I every morning like, I get up, walk my, I have coffee, I walk my dog, take care of my, feed him and stuff. And then usually like it's around 8:15 when that's done. And then about 8:30 I'll start working. And I usually work till about 11. Then I take a break, take the dogs out. And it's like I basically use the dogs as like a marker for but it really worked out well
Yeah,
because then after that, then I work till about 4, then he eats dinner, so then I give him dinner and then we go out, take a walk. And then like but it really helped
yeah.
build that schedule, like having actually the dog, which is funny.
So if you want
No,
to
it
be a
makes a
coder,
lot of
just get a
sense.
dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it makes sense too because you're also by taking a dog out, you're like getting some like relaxation and like, getting a break from coding too, which is super helpful as well.
Yeah, that's just it too, I think is like, and scheduling time too to do other things like that, like taking walks or doing a hobby that you enjoy. Just because like I know like we've talked about it so many times, but like how many problems do you solve when you're not sitting at your computer? For me, it's like all of them.
Most of them. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Like
Yeah.
I was just thinking about this the other day because like I was struggling with something and then I put it down and then I woke up in the morning and at like 7 o'clock I was brushing my teeth and I was like, oh, that's how I'll solve it. And it's like
Yeah.
just comes to you. It's so funny, but your brain's so good at processing things if you let it. You just need the problem to be presented, and then you just gotta let it work out.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's funny, like we're obviously traveling here to Colombia, and my girlfriend was like, the night before we left, she had a dream that she forgot her passport, and she did because she has two. And she was like, "Oh my God, like my mind literally reminded me that I need to get my other passport." And that's like the crazy part about your subconscious mind is it's like it's always working in the background. And so when you let it do the work, it actually works even better. So I totally agree. I mean, having that time to like to code, but also having break times in there is super important as well. I want to mention another thing about like a habit of coding, and I think you sort of touched upon this, Randall, but I wanted to sort of emphasize it. So when I've heard this from a lot of our students and from a lot of people inside the group, I think even in a previous live stream, somebody had asked this during the live stream. They're like, how much time is the appropriate amount of time to code, right?
Oh
And I think
yeah,
that's like a struggle for a lot of people when they first get into coding because you see, developers who are further along than you who can put in 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 12. I mean, I put in hours of like 12-hour days of coding
yeah.
before, like many times. And that's super intimidating to somebody who's just getting into coding, right? So I want to address that because I think that's something that actually holds people back, which is they just have this expectation like, if I'm going to have the habit of coding, I have to put in 4, 5, 6 hours of coding. And that's not the truth. I think when you're starting, it's totally appropriate to do a half hour of coding, right? Or whatever, like a line of code, right? Just so that you're doing it every single day. Because building that habit is all about just opening up your computer, opening up VS Code, and like putting something out there. And so I think if you're brand new or you're just starting out, like don't set that bar so high because you're just telling your brain that you're failing every time that you're not doing that,
Yeah.
and you want to set yourself up for success. So set the bar super, super, super low so that you can give yourself that dopamine hit of like, hey, I did it today. I wrote one line of code. That's all I wanted to do today. Cool. Like, and then you can progress because it does take time to be able to like sit and code for that many hours at a time.
But it comes too, and I think that's the thing. Like it comes as you
Yeah.
get better at it, you'll find it more and more enjoyable, and you won't want to stop. But I think too, like I
Yeah.
remember, I think Randy was was the first person to tell me this, but like there was this idea too about like building habits where like I think the person said something like, if you want to exercise, like don't make your goal like an hour exercise, make it like get your yoga mat out.
Yeah.
And that's it. Because then
Yep.
you already succeeded, right? And the whole point is just to do something every day. That's all it is.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be a ton at first because that'll build up as you get better at it. And as you like, and once you start, I think that's the other thing people forget is like once you schedule a half hour in a day to do this, that can easily become an hour or two later as you start to get
Yeah.
into it and get better at it and find it enjoyable and find new problems.